You may well have heard me say that healing the nervous system is a pivotal part of overcoming chronic fatigue and burnout. But I probably haven't shared enough about how to actually do that. And before we even get to how to do that, it's important for you to be aware of when your nervous system is dysregulated so that you know when to address that. There are many signs of nervous system dysregulation, and it depends whether you are in a fight and flight state, which is a more activated state, or if you're in a freeze state, or a fawn state, which is another form of stress activation. It's another autonomic nervous system state that we can go into. So just very briefly, fight-flight can show up as irritation. It can show up as literally feeling like you just want to run away for a while, get away from your family, your life, your workplace, your partner. It can be, so fight is going to be an internal driven, like a feeling of being wired or driven as if by a motor. It can be not tolerating stress very well and very quickly becoming overwhelmed and activated by stresses and by sensory input around you. So these are ways that we can feel that we go into fight mode. So very easily, like I said, very easily angered and maybe even actually snapping at people or answering, when your child says, "Mom," and you say, "What?" Sorry, yes, what were you saying, my dear? Then you're in fight state. So flight is going to be needing to run. We also go into flight through leaving our bodies, and we can leave our bodies literally, some people to the degree that they actually feel depersonalized. They don't feel like they're present in their bodies. They feel like they're kind of just not centered and in their bodies. And even to the point of feeling like they're outside of their bodies with severe stress. But many people, how they experience flight is avoidance. So we go into our head and we get busy in our head so we don't have to feel the stress in our bodies. We also can avoid in sort of healthier ways like reading. But even reading can become obsessive. There's a point at which we're trying to escape something. Then there's other ways of escaping, like substance use, social media. These are all flight responses. When we're going into a fawn state, this is where we find ourselves being very, very aware of what other people are saying, how they're saying it, what their body language is doing. We're very conscious of trying to understand what they might be feeling and what's going on in their heads, because we want to be able to respond appropriately and don't want to rock the boat or cause upset. This is a fawn state. And freeze is a shutdown. So freeze can be apathy, it can be lack of motivation, lack of concentration, fatigue. So the fatigue that many of us feel with chronic fatigue and burnout you'll often find you actually go between, at times, feeling wired and activated, so fight flight, and then that's too much for the nervous system, so you go into a shutdown, which is the fatigue. And also, of course, it's exhausting to be here all the time, right? And if that goes on for long enough, you might eventually just go into a freeze state and stay there. Now, what happens is that with this nervous system dysregulation, so we need to go into these states at times. It's actually very adaptive and very important that we do respond to stress with a fight, flight, or even a freeze state. But when we're doing this chronically, when we go into these states too easily and we can't get back into a rested state, like if it's hard for us to get back into a rested state and we're spending too much time in these other states of stress response, we are not able to heal and rejuvenate. Our bodies cannot produce energy when we are in fight, flight, or freeze. In fact, there's so much that shuts down and other things that turn up that it can actually cause chronic health issues. I'm not going to go into there's so many body systems involved, but all of these when they're chronically either shut off or increased due to a stress response, it's going to create health issues. And furthermore, our cellular health is very much determined by whether we're in cell danger response or not. We cannot be producing energy when we are in cell danger response, which is what happens when our stress is activated. Okay, so those are some symptoms to look for. I like to help people to really get familiar with what's going on in their bodies so they can start to notice how they hold that in their bodies. Because most of us are in quite a disconnected state, which is also adaptive and supportive up to a point, and then we actually need to start to connect again, because maybe once upon a time it served you to be disconnected, but if you're not well now, if you're battling with chronic fatigue and burnout, it's important to get connected to your body again and to work with your body as opposed to hating it and working against it, because actually right now it's giving you some very, very important signs and signals that you are needing to come back into connection with your body and to work with it in a different way and be with it in a different way. So I would like you just now in this moment to close your eyes and just to imagine that you are dropping into your body. So you are landing in your body. You're getting curious about what is happening inside of you. And you can actually do this by imagining that you are scanning your body from the top of your head down through your facial muscles, your neck and your throat, your shoulders, your upper back, your chest, down through your solar plexus and your middle back, your belly, your lower back, your arms, your hands, your hips, your glutes, quads and thighs, and lower legs. And what I'd like you to notice here is, are you currently leaning back and dropped down in your body? Or are you pulled up and pushing forwards? Because a rested state means that you're going to find yourself more leaning back and dropping down. So your muscle tone is going to be a lot more relaxed. And you are going to be rested in your body, which is where you can heal and rejuvenate. But if you're pulled up and pushing forward, you are in an activated state. And you might find that many of you actually spend a lot of time in this state. You might feel it as tension in your jaws as well, tension in your shoulders, a bit of constriction in your throat, your chest might feel tight. There's many ways that this tension can show up. So let's say you notice that is present. Here's a quick practice that you can do. There's actually many ways to regulate the nervous system. You can hum, you can tone with vocal tones, you can breathe. Movements, body movements, gentle somatic movements are useful, and eye movements as well. So I'm going to just share with you actually a practice of physical touch. What this does is it increases endorphins and oxytocin, and it brings the body back into the parasympathetic response, which is where we rest and rejuvenate. And so you putting one hand out, I'd like your other hand to be the hand that is the hand that touches this hand, and this is the hand that receives. So this is the giver and this is the receiver. And if it helps to close your eyes, I'd like you to first imagine what the receiving hand is, well, not imagine, feel what the receiving hand is feeling as you gently stroke it. So you're noticing what your receiving hand feels like, what the sensation is like as you gently stroke the hand. You might want to go in between your fingers. And then you're going to feel what the giving hand feels like as it gives, as it touches this hand, the receiving hand. So what is the giving hand experiencing? Okay. Again, you can go in between the fingers. What is the giving hand receiving? Feeling. Sorry, what is the giving hand feeling, not receiving? And then you can switch over so that the giving hand becomes the receiving hand and feel what it feels like to receive. And then feel what the giving hand feels like to give. What is that hand feeling as it gives? So this is actually similar. It's a form of havening. You can also even just do a self hug. There's many receptors here in the back parts of your arms, which are related to the stimulating a rest and digest state. So you can even just do this as well as a simpler form of relaxing your nervous system. So what you do is when you notice that you're activated, do one of these practices. But even more than that, you can actually do these practices as a matter of course in the mornings and in the evenings, and just see what a difference it makes to your nervous system, because this nervous system aspect is so important to general well-being and health and vitality.